Here's Ben Shapiro, the intellectual giant of the Republican Party. Just back from some runs to Home Depot where he has bought a lot of stuff to do some DIY stuff.
Back from just screaming into his pillow about Barbie being way too woke. Doing an hour-long review, the intellectual giant, as you say, of the rights, just can't stop talking about a PG-13 toy
Can
movie.
I just say, like, I wonder if they're understanding now that, you know, these studios that you burn the Barbie or whatever, that's promoting that film. You're increasing the the brand impressions. Like
well, they don't care. They're increasing their brand. They don't really care about it failing.
But I would just like to point out that like the marketers for these films probably take that into account and probably
without
pop champagne every time you do stuff like that.
Without a doubt. Here is Ben Shapiro, though. He's not talking about Barbie. He's talking about, he's running interference for Donald Trump. I mean, look at I'm so old, I remember Republicans were all about law and order.
The reason to be angry at Trump here is not really his behavior so much as it is the insanity of knowing that he's got the world's biggest target on his back. He's likely to run for re-election again. And he decides that he is going to do all of this under the assumption that no one is going to come after him. The assumption of impunity here is just foolish. Again, as a person who's prominent in politics, I overpay my taxes because the last thing that I want is to be put under the scrutiny of Joe Biden's IRS. Well, Donald Trump is way more of a target than I am personally. So why in the world would he be so careless and so clumsy as to do all of these things and then do them on tape also like that? That's why you should be upset at Trump, right? The crimes themselves, like messing with the classified documents, not turning them back in. He wasn't turning them over to Russia. As I said from the very beginning, the entire case is Donald Trump likes things and then he keeps them. Donald Trump is like, here's the thing. It's a really nice thing. It's a good thing. I want it. It's mine. If they call it a thing, it's a thing. Right? That's Donald Trump's. He does this all the time. I mean, he literally just had to give a bunch of antiquities back to the Israeli consulate because.
Pause it for a second.
I'm sorry, that was his Trump impression.
Well,
that's the worst Trump impression I've ever heard in my life. But
it's a good Jerry Lewis impression, and so you got to give him that. But here's the point. I wonder. If people work at the Daily Wire, when they leave that job, or when they just go home, if they took things, let's say they took a computer or two, just because they're the type of people who likes to collect things. I like to collect things. It reminds me of work. I love work so much. I want to bring home my work computer because at home I want that feel of like I'm in the office and I'm there with the Daily Wire gang. I wonder if Ben and that other guy who runs the place, what's that guy's name?
Jeremy Boring.
Jeremy and the whole other crew who smoke the cigars would be like, hey, don't worry about it. Steve is like a guy who likes to take things and he likes to borrow them. And then if you go to his house to see if he's got the work computer or maybe the mini fridge, or maybe he took I don't know, that really nice printer that we had or some audio equipment. He took a couple of microphones.
Financial records about how much guys like Ben are getting paid. That's a little bit more what it's like.
If you go there and look for it, the fun part is going to be watching him get his kids or his roommate to move the stuff around as you look for it. Because that's part of the game he likes to play too. He's just a guy who likes to keep things and then move them around when you come to look for them. I'm sure they would be like, the stupid part is just that
he took
this guy. No, not that he took it as much as that he just let people know about it. Like the idea that he's like the president of the United States, and we don't know what he did with this stuff. We know that he just in a casual conversation with a ghostwriter was showing documents that were completely classified. Now, it doesn't matter if Donald Trump is just like a hoarder or so sentimental. When the government says, hey, dude, could you give us that back?
Yeah.
Instead of then showing it to just people that you want to impress at Mar-a-Lago. Remember how many hours were spent on the idea that Hillary Clinton used a private server and all of the theories that somehow the Chinese could get wind of this stuff. And Donald Trump has his IT guy and his chauffeur and a dude who does some physical plant work at Mar-a-Lago moving these sensitive documents around to avoid detection, and they're in a bathroom
and destroying the camera footage allegedly of the
or attempting to like it always these right-wing arguments defending Trump on this always rest on like this complete straw man, which is that he's being prosecuted for taking the documents. No, like they begged him, just give it back so we don't have to do this stuff.
And he didn't. That's what they gave him much more leeway than they would and have done to average people who have done other government work, taken stuff home. They've been prosecuted right away without the grace given to return the documentation. Trump and it's the same thing that happened with Biden and Pence, who had some classified documents.
They found them themselves, though. Let's be clear.
And they returned it.
The government didn't even know, and they returned them.
Yeah.
Here's go back to Ben Shapiro trying to run cover for Trump. I mean, I don't know what. It would be a good question. I wouldn't want to spend much time in Ben Shapiro's mind, but it would be a good question. Which part does he enjoy the most? The 45-minute Barbie expose that he did, or running cover for Donald Trump? Which one? Or is it just he finds joy in both?
I think it's the first.
They call it a thing, it's a thing. Right? That's Donald Trump.
Hey, ladies.
He does this all the time. He literally just had to give a bunch of antiquities back to the Israeli consulate because he had kept the antiquities. Right? It was like a bunch of like 2,000-year-old artifacts, and Trump had been handed them at the White House, and then he decided he was going to keep them. Why was he? Was he going to hand those over to the Russians as spy material? No. He likes things, he keeps them. He's kind of a hoarder. So the notion that he was actively some sort of spy for China or Russia, or that these classified documents, he was keeping them on hand so he could do something nefarious and terrible with them, that's not true. And so what you end up with is he mishandled classified documents because Donald Trump is clumsy and doesn't care about the ramifications legally, but also he's not somebody who's seeking to disseminate the nuclear codes to the Russians or the Chinese or something.
Honestly,
that doesn't even matter though. Like this is about principle, and these are public records. Like
it's also not just about principle and public records. If he is so loosey-goosey, I mean, if he is the mental midget that Ben Shapiro is working him out to be, and he's got these nuclear codes, how hard would it be for someone of like just moderate intelligence to get into Mar-a-Lago and get them from Donald Trump? I mean, quite easy. I'm writing a feature for you on Esquire magazine. Is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Like, and you don't know anything about nuclear code. Of course I do. I mean, this is classified. I mean, he knew it was classified, right? I mean, all heard the tape. It's classified, but I mean, you could look at it, but you can't take any pictures. You can take pictures with your phone camera.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Again, just straw man argument after straw man argument. Ben Shapiro is such a coward that he can't literally. He's smart enough to know what the facts of the matter of this case are. Let's be real here. He's being incredibly cynical because he wants to maintain some sort of goodwill with his audience, and he's presenting straw man arguments about what the nature of the case is in order to maintain that kind of relationship with his audience. It's pathetic, really. He has no real intellectual fortitude. He's just trying to get rich and stay rich. So just know that whenever you hear anything he says, that's his real motivation.
I mean, you don't know really what his real motivation is. All you can really know from that, in my opinion, is that he's just lying or just
okay, I don't
running
know his
interference.
motivation, but come on, you agree that he understands that it's not about the argument is not that
he might
he's
want
a
to
Chinese
protect,
spy.
He might want to protect Trump because he knows that like he'll get his taxes cut. I mean, he's just going through BS.
Yeah, I mean,
but also the other thing you can know is he does a great Jerry Lewis. Here is.
Oh, Slapstick of Another Kind opens Friday, March the 24th. Would you welcome Jerry Lewis?
Oh, I wish you could see this. I'm watching it. This is from The Tonight Show, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's a show that was on at night.
Whoa, boy, you've certainly changed.
Oh, how we dance.
There's a grown man and a grandfather, and not a.
There you go. He's doing the Jerry Lewis there.
That does
Entertainment.
sound like Jerry Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Oddly, I mean, yeah. Ben didn't make it in Hollywood. I wonder why.
It wasn't for lack of trying.